I did immediately want a whole farm, but at the same time, I didn't realistically think that was wise for us to jump into. So it's taken us 4 years. I love the life that it's provided for my children. I love that they understand farm life. I love that they understand life and death. The hard work is hard work, but good work and joys that come from working hard and like harvesting your own carrots with your cousins. It's a great experience for the children.
Yeah, and it's not always necessarily practical. You can buy carrots pretty cheap. It's more than that. Yes, you can do a much more convenient thing, but then there's just the absence of that good work. My name is Lisa, mother of 8 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. On this podcast, I like to talk about simplifying your life so you can live out your priorities. I help you learn how to cook from scratch and decorate on a budget through this podcast and my courses, Simple Sourdough and the Simple Sewing series. I also help people reach their goals from home through my business course, YouTube Success Academy. I will leave links to these resources in the show notes and description box below. Now let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. Today we are having on Melissa Ferguson again. We talked, when was that? She is the author of The Perfect Rom-Com, and she has a brand new children's book coming out. We're going to chat about their family's experience of living in a cul-de-sac, finding some property on an auction, and then building their own farmhouse, and then eventually their homestead, adding in animals from somebody's perspective who didn't grow up that way. Of course, right now I am very much in the thick of doing the same exact thing. We purchased property. We are building a home from scratch and a homestead that, is in basically a field. So there's not a lot of infrastructure there. And so it's always fun for me as well to chat with someone who has already gone before on something like that. And she's always someone fun to talk to. All right, without further ado, let's dive into the interview. Melissa, I'm so excited to have you back on. We talked about all kinds of things last time that you were on, and one of those was your book. And now you are releasing your very first children's book, which sounds really cool. I love the whole concept of it. It's kind of sort of like your journey of moving to the country and building your farmhouse, which I am so in the thick of right now. So very curious to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, tell us about yourself and your upcoming book, your past books.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is actually excellent timing because not a half an hour ago, I got my very first final copy from my publisher. So it's releasing in July, but this is it. And I'm just through the roof about it.
Oh, yes.
And it has the quality so nice. They did a really great shine on the front and the pictures of our family on the back is so sweet. So, but yeah, I'm really excited about this. This is my debut children's book. Normally I write adult sweet rom-coms. Yeah, it is the story. Basically it appeals to imagine like Goodnight construction site, but in a Tasha Tudor, Jan Brett, old fashioned, that like Charlotte Mason-y sort of living book kind of style. So, but it's also a whimsical version of our life. And just my husband, we lived in a cul-de-sac. I love my cul-de-sac life. It was a great life. But of course, like most people, we kind of like can romanticize a little bit. I wonder what it would be like to live in, I don't know, Capri or, wherever. And my husband came home from a bike ride in the mountains. We live near the Appalachian Mountains. And he was like, I saw an auction sign on the side of a road and it said this land is going up for sale like next week. And like, what do you think? And it sounded very crazy and it was very risky. And I didn't know what I really thought about it, but then I drove out and we fell in love with it. And and it was actually my brother-in-law who ended up helping us with the auction. Like he raised his hand to raise it higher than my husband would have. I think we would have lost the land. And I was like, Sam, do it. You're okay. And thankfully at the end, Sam was like, yeah, we're fine. We're fine. It's like $1,000 more than, my husband was a little nervous. And then it turns out he was just fine.
Yeah.
And so then we started building. My husband is a builder. So it kind of like after several years of him building houses for other people, it kind of also dawned on me like, wait a second. I wonder what it would be like. Could I possibly build ourselves? And so the unique thing for us is that financially we built this house because my husband is a builder. And so we saved a lot of money that way, but also partly hugely because I realized I could utilize possibly, it was a dream of social media to try and fund trying to build it. And sure enough, it worked out. So we kind of like, as I worked out building up a social media account that allowed for brand deals, I was able to also build our house and like build the laundry room based off of that, or, whatever. So, so that has been, in fact, down to the drip irrigation system in our garden 2 days ago, so it's a continuous process, but yeah. So we just added a lot of animals. We sheared the sheep last week. Do you have sheep?
Well, we live in town while we're building our house, so we have nothing right now.
Oh, girl, yeah. I can give you some advice on adding animals if you want to hear it.
I mean, we had a little homestead, but then we sold it, and we moved while we're building, just very temporarily because we kind of hit the market with our last place, and then now we're going to be able to take that and we're building. But yeah, so living right in town is very difficult when you're used to being able to just like let kids run.
Yeah. And don't worry about the road, and don't worry. I know. There's
exactly
some hardships for sure, but at least you're not doing, a lot of people I know who've done the build have done a camper on site.
Listen, sometimes that sounds better, but people say maybe not.
Yeah, that is some tight quarters. That would be for sure some challenges.
I don't know. It sounds somewhat fun at this current time, but that could just be because the grass is always greener. But I'm like, man, we love being out there, and we hate that we're not out there all the time. And we find ourselves out there at least twice a day, just checking in on the build.
Oh my goodness. You sound just like me. Yes. It'd be like, well, it's time to have a picnic. And so we'd like go have a picnic on the dirt mound, go have and check on
now it's a mud mound here.
Oh, how far are you in the build?
It's pretty much framed. They're putting the roof on, but because we're needing to get the chimneys built first, it's just the zip system.
Okay.
And then, we're in the very thick of it right now.
But it sounds like you're kind of almost, once we got to that part, it was like, whoosh, went pretty fast. Yeah.
I don't know. And obviously this podcast comes out, I think like 4 weeks from now. So I'm sure we'll be a lot further at that point. But originally, we were hoping to be in by Christmas, and I'm thinking there's no way that's going to happen. But I have no idea. This is just me basing it off of watching other people build and seeing how long each part takes. And I'm like, well, basically like July, August, September, October, November. I'm like, I don't know if that's really going to happen.
I'm no expert. My husband's the expert, but I would imagine you would be in by Christmas. If they're saying, I don't know. And of course, it's always a little bit later than what they say.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Rain delays and things like that. But yeah, I felt like once we were framed, it was just so fast.
Really?
And that is in my book, Our Friendly Farmhouse, is how I showed. I also kind of thought, when I originally created my social media accounts, which is Our Friendly Farmhouse, people would ask all the time, like, so exactly how do you do the build? So exactly how quickly does this happen? And I was like, I'm going to put this in the book, and then they can read my children's book and kind of see how the process goes.
I need to get it just for my kids will love it, but I need to get it for myself.
I know, and be like, okay, then I literally would go back after I wrote the book and then go through edits, and then I would double check with Ben. I'd be like, so was it the HVAC system before or right after this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So he would work that in. And so it shows those pages, but then it goes, I will say the rest of the book goes beyond and then shows, adding chickens, ducks, sheep, gardens, trying really, really make your life as romanticized, as whimsical as you enjoy your life with your family. So,
well, yeah. And we lived for 6 years on 7 acres, and we had a dairy cow, and we had goats and chickens.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But, and I still like, I don't feel this big sense of relief that we don't have it. It's not like, oh, good. Like, I don't have to worry about that. I'm like, I just can't wait to get back there.
Yes. Yeah. That's interesting. So we've held off on doing a dairy cow. Because we like to travel like to the beach, or we like to feel a little spontaneous. And I will say, sheep, chickens, ducks, and cats have been pretty.
You can do that.
You can still do it.
Yes.
And rabbits. But a dairy cow, we've thought about meat cows possibly.
Yeah.
But were you able to like pack up and be like, let us go see their seasonal breeze?
No, not spontaneously.
No. Okay.
No, you'd have to plan around like when you're going to dry the cow off when she's going to have a calf.
Yeah.
And so I go back and forth with that, but I think we only do those kind of things in theory. We don't actually do them. And so I'm like, well, are we going to build our lives around what we do in theory or what we actually do? Because we don't actually love traveling. We do it, but we're always like, like it's hard. It's very hard.
What? Oh,
it's hard. It's so difficult.
Oh, so last that you're talking. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, I took a spontaneous trip, kind of spontaneous. We'll say we had 2 weeks of planning to New York City to actually meet with some producers about turning my books into movies, which I'm super pumped about. That was a great chat. And I met with my agent, blah, blah, blah. But I took my daughter and I learned about the value of carry-on life. Like I will never do a checked bag forever.
No. Yeah, we don't do that either.
You do a carry-on? It's so fun.
So, and I don't mind traveling with anywhere from like 1 to 6 children. It's literally like that's fun. Like we do those. It's like okay, so in February we did a very spontaneous trip to Miami. My sisters, we got like the really cheap Spirit airline flights and we found an Airbnb. And I took my 6 kids that can swim. So it was at a pool.
Yeah.
And they just swam the whole time. We all packed backpacks, no checked luggage, no, Spirit Airlines, you can't bring hardly anything.
Did you bring a carry-on or was it only backpacks? Because that's amazing.
Just a backpack.
Look at that. That's
I can
awesome.
pack so light. You get an Airbnb and you just wash the clothes repeatedly. Or if it's something like a pool trip, all you need is a swimsuit and like one extra outfit.
Right.
That's fine. That's easy. We did like Walmart Plus for all the food.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even get a rental car. We just got an Uber to the Airbnb.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and I've done girls' trips to New York City with my girls. That's fine. My son and I went to Maine. That's all fun. It's taking the entire crew, which with a dairy cow, if one of us stays back, the other one, one of us can milk. And so it's really fine because we have done full family vacations, but it's not exactly relaxing.
Well, I love that you're like, if it's the whole family plus a dairy cow.
Yeah.
the casual dairy. Just take the cow with you. It'll be fine.
No, take the dairy cow. We just would leave one adult back to milk. But
But you plus many, many children is less stressful than finding someone.
Well, it depends.
Who could potentially do the dairy cow.
That would be, yes. But then also we do well with dividing and conquering because then like if my husband would take older kids somewhere and I would stay back with the younger crew, then it's easy for the person. It's kind of easy for both people versus the group is a little bit more challenging because you can do different things. You need nap times. You need to watch kids closely who are maybe not swimmers, all that kind of stuff. So I think we just sometimes choose to do that because it's, you get the ages. So if you have all kids like 5 and up, that's a whole different thing than bringing,
it's a whole different vibe.
The babies.
Yes, for sure. For sure. We are a condensed version of what you have. Because we have 4 kids. And so I'm learning the value of, I'm like a clinger. I'm like a stage 5 clinger on my husband. And so I just recently have discovered the value of like, oh, you can take him and go swim at the lake. I could stay here with the girls. And there's a certain joy in that. So
I think there was a time where we really loved doing all things together as a family, and we still do. It's it just makes so much more sense when you have such divided ages.
Yeah.
That's when I started really realizing it. Like, okay, it would make so much more sense for you to take those kids on a canoe trip and me to stay back with the babies. Because all of the stress of going on a canoe trip is in bringing the 1-year-old, the 3-year-old, it's not the others. Those are fine. Like that's just pack up the kids, get in the canoe, bring the food. It's both. And so it's fun to go with him, but it's just also really hard. So
it changes the dynamic. We tried originally to have six of us go up to New York City and I kept being like, how could I figure out the 3-year-old,
it's that little kid. Yeah. Traveling.
Yeah. So that's where grandparents come in and they're very handy.
Well, and we've done some of that too. Yes. That'll work as well because I find that each group is not super difficult on their own. Like I can do, and obviously like we make it all work, but little kids, you do a very certain thing. Like if I'm ever left home, which I am times with the 4 youngest kids, my whole day is structured completely differently than if you have the older kids or if you have all the kids, and you quickly adapt to how you're supposed to do it. But it's a whole different thing because you're very much in control too. You're like, hey, we're going to go do this. We're going to have lunchtime. We're going to have nap time. And then we're going to have our little bedtime. And you plan all of the things that you need to do on your own during all those times because they're very predictable, because little kids actually sleep. They don't go to bed at like teenagers. They don't go to bed. Like they go to bed after me.
When do they sleep?
Yeah. Do they go to bed? I've never seen it. So yeah, yeah. But anyways, with the dairy cow, with the animals, I see what you're saying. If you are someone who actually does do spontaneous family trips, that's going to be a big challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is where I think we enjoy our sheep. We enjoy the shearing. I think we might grow that herd and just be happy campers there.
Yeah.
If I end up,
that's awesome. Yeah.
But I can see missing the chickens and things. We're actually about to, I think, change our coop because our coop was a frustration.
Yeah.
And it's time, you learn as you go with farming, I guess.
So, okay. Your husband came home, you were in the cul-de-sac, and he was like, I found this land. Was this a dream of yours before, or just something that was kind of like sprung on you and you were like, maybe I could wrap my head around that dream?
Yeah, well, that's a little bit of the theme. Actually, I ended up twisting into the book of saying like, what if, like, taking that risk, which applies, for adults as well as children. And so, I feel like I romanticized it just like I can romanticize everything else under the sun. And we love hiking in the mountains. We love, we've got a homeschool hiking group we do every week, and we've got we've done long camping trips, we've done long hikes, we've done various things. But to like live out away from people, we've never done. I actually grew up in an apartment complex with a single mother. And so this was a far cry. I mean, suburban life was even a far cry from kind of what I grew up with. And so, it was a bit of a risk. I remember I remember being very nervous the night before the auction because it can really go either way. Yeah. And it could really go either way. And it was like, do we really want this? Because if we do this,
it's happening.
There's kind of no going back. And I have learned that wherever I live, I think it is the world's best place ever. And so it's hard for me to move. You sound just like
my sister. She's like so positive about everything. Like, I can get down about stuff. I'm like, meh. And she's like, but look at this. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Super. But also look at that. Yeah. And so I've lived in a lot of unique, I will say, places in my life. And, at each point, it's like, oh my goodness, we're next to a park. It's the best. Right. Oh my goodness, we have walking here. It's the best, whatever it is. And so that is very much how I feel about our cul-de-sac and our neighborhood. I think it's the world's best neighborhood and the world's best cul-de-sac. And like, how could we ever if we leave it, it sells to someone else and we'll never get it back.
You'll never find anything like this.
No other house like that house. Which of course there are millions of houses, but I really genuinely felt it in my core. And so that was definitely scary. But you just had to weigh the pros and cons and ultimately, really truly think about it. And then eventually take the jump. Even if you don't know for sure how it's going to go, just take the jump and it'll be okay. And it really was. It was, I can't think of a decision we've really made in our lives where I was like, that was a terrible decision, completely irreversible. Or
right.
You can always pivot if you need to.
Right. So with your house, were you able to live in your cul-de-sac house while building your farmhouse?
Yeah. So we were able to do that. And I think that probably we were very lucky because my husband bought the lumber package 3 weeks before the cost of wood skyrocketed because of COVID. This was all right around COVID that I
can't remember. When did you move into your farmhouse?
I think it was 2021.
Okay. So right around COVID.
Yeah. So we were building in 2020, 2021. And so it was right as the world was getting really really crazy. And so, but thankfully it was very affordable. So what was shocking actually for us is that we were able to sell our house, which was like an 1,800 square foot sweet small house in our, not small, but a sweet house in our cul-de-sac, and buy the house we're in now for pretty much the exact same cost to build.
Wow, I guess just the way the timing worked out, because the market kind of shot up a little bit.
It was,
and he bought the lumber prior to that.
It was that, and he was just really careful as a builder. But then I turned around and was able to utilize social media to like make sure get a bunch of free things, basically free products to build, and it was so it worked out really well, which was very much a huge blessing, because I feel like the cost of the value of what our house was or would have been today is like, probably 4 times more than we were able to build.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're never moving. It was also the great interest rate day. And so I was like, we'll be here forever. So
I want to take a quick break from this episode to tell you about one way that I love to stock my freezer, my fridge, my pantry, so that I'm prepared for from scratch meals. Even during these busy summer months, I still like to have from scratch foods, even if the menu looks a little bit simpler, because we're spending more time outside. There's more activities going on. We're building a house. So I just need to make sure that I'm stocked so that things are available for me to do that. And I want to say thank you to today's sponsor, Azure Standard. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you know about Azure Standard. They're a co-op based style model for you to get organic, fresh ingredients into your kitchen. Also bulk items, things like wheat berries, einkorn berries, spelt, all those whole grains that I love to mill in my kitchen and throw into my baked goods. I also get canned goods, grass-fed butter, raw cheese. I can't really find raw cheese locally, and if I were to be able to find it somewhere, it's very, very expensive. So I love that Azure Standard has that option. I also grab seasonal items that are usually really inexpensive. When you go on the Azure Standard website, right on the homepage, you can see what's currently in season, so what is currently on sale. I also get things like frozen fruit, frozen berries in bulk from Azure Standard for smoothies, for yogurt, so many great things, and all at a great price. The way it works is you find a drop location in your area on the Azure Standard website. There are several options around for us. We have one very, very close by, and they meet once a month. So you just place your monthly order. A big truck pulls in. You and a bunch of like-minded individuals get your stuff off the truck who have the same health priorities as you. Get your items off the truck so that you can pool together your shipping and your order in order to have access to these great foods. Azure Standard is offering Simple Farmhouse Life listeners 15% off your first order of $100 or more to a drop location with my code SIMPLE15. So head to Azure Standard, AZURE standard.com, and use the code SIMPLE15 if you've been on the fence about trying Azure Standard. Get on the website, sign up for an account, see if you can find a drop location, and then some items that you might already be buying, if you can find them cheaper, or if there are things that you wish you could find but you just can't get them. I think you'll be able to find almost everything over there. Thanks again, Azure Standard, for sponsoring this episode. I mean, obviously, if you ever did need to move, which I agree, like we're building the house with, unless something crazy happens, no intentions to ever move again. But you would have gained that value. Like if you were to sell it, you would obviously have like a large amount that you could purchase something else with as it appreciated and all that. But yeah.
But of course, my mindset is, well, we can't ever move. This is the best it'll ever get.
Yes,
there's
which
no
is great.
better.
Yeah. I think I'll think that about our new place. I mean, I already think that about the land and the way it lays out and how things are taking shape. Now, did you have anything, which I know you're like very positive, very optimistic person, so maybe you wouldn't have anything that you were like, oh, I regret this and I wish we would have done this differently with our build? I know everybody has those.
Yeah. Well, I think there were some unavoidables because I was trying to be so cost effective. Purchased several our little chandeliers or hardware off of Wayfair or Amazon. There's always the nice appliances. I went for, checking the clearance section at Lowe's for everything, or going online and finding the cheapest. And have they broken? I'm looking at a broken doorknob right now that drives me crazy and locks us in our bathroom all the time,
Right.
But it was you do the best with what you can at the time, and so now here we are 4 years later, and as we're able to replace things, and so I don't regret any of that, but it's almost like that's a hack. You can get nice looking things that look really fancy or look really nice on Amazon or Wayfair. You just have to dig, and I went crazy on Black Friday. I got everything on Black Friday, and so I made all these decisions that would help us. My husband pulled out an entire racquetball court for a job at a gym, and we kept it all and refinished it and put it down. And so I have a racquetball gym in my whole upstairs.
Wow, that's unique.
Which is really different. Yeah. And no one would think it, because it's just I think a maple or cherry, I forget, but it's you wouldn't really notice, but it's different than the wide plank that we have on our main floor, but it has a memory attached to it. And it was just a way that we were able to save money. So
and get a nice durable floor.
And it was durable for sure. So, so I'm trying to think of things I would definitely do differently.
If nothing comes to mind quick, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I wanted a chute from the second floor down to the first. If I could have now I ended up doing a brand deal with a washer dryer all in one that goes in your closet that's ventless. So that ended up working out. So now I have a washer dryer upstairs. So it doesn't matter really. However, if I didn't do that brand deal, a couple years later, I would have wished to have a chute to drop all your clothes into the washer dryer downstairs instead of going up and downstairs, 300 times a day as you do. So I'm trying to think of things that I regret. We painted the entire house to save money. Again, a base color of just zero color. What is that? The base paint?
Okay.
People sometimes would ask online, they're like, what color is your baseboards compared to your ceilings, compared to your walls? And I was
you're
all the same. It's your ultra right or whatever base paint.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we just ultimately saved money where we could. And as I was able to make money, sell books, whatever, then I would do the project. Yeah. Add the wallpaper, do the whatever.
Well, and that's an encouraging thing, because I feel like right now my brain is so fully invested in the build, because it feels like every decision I make feels very permanent. But it's I'm shopping for door hardware, and it's you can switch a doorknob. I guess I'm afraid I wouldn't ever do it, because when I look at my last couple houses, we kind of just do what the house is. You don't worry about all that. But then whenever you're presented with building a house, I can choose literally every single thing, just everything. Should the door go this way or that way? And then what hardware? No. And it's a lot.
Well, and and you can change it. I think one thing, I don't know if this is going to give you comfort or be oh no, that's terrible. But one thing I realized is immediately, no matter how nicely you do your house, scuffs will happen on the walls, as you know.
Yeah.
And things will break. So it's almost like a get out of jail card feeling of listen, just know, no matter how nice you do it, you're forever going to be we got to fix this.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
Don't sweat the small stuff in the beginning, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and when you're building a house, you're still a busy person. It's not like life just stops. And so there's so many things. I'm if I just stop and do this, then we will get to have this really cool, just one of the really annoying things I'm doing to myself is we did all reclaimed doors which is a very annoying thing to do.
Oh, but that's awesome. Oh,
it is in theory until you're like realizing there's not the right hinges, not the right, the little part that goes in the door so that it latches to the other side of the door. And then there's no frames. They're all different inches wide, tall, everything. So it's one of those things where it's like you partially just want to give up, but then you're also like, but if I devote myself right now,
if I commit
right now, like next year, this won't be a thing I'm worrying about anymore. And I will have all antique doors in the whole house. But there's like a lot of things like that. I'm like, how far do you go? Because there's still a busy life happening around here,
right? Well, and you can add more personality as you go. I mean, I think the reclaimed doors, I have a friend who remodeled her house too. And she will say that was a big woe of hers, is that they did reclaimed windows and they were like horrible experience and, the same problems. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I do like the modern, give me a good modern window that like for sure works and is double panes.
We're doing new windows too. Cause my old house windows, they don't open. Like I've lived in 3 old houses. That's all I've lived in for my whole marriage. And there's like the one-off window that'll open, but for the most part they don't. And I don't like that.
No,
that's not great.
I know. Good windows are a modern luxury. That are a blessing. And I really like windows that go top down so that every time I open them, like, what is it? Not just bottom up, but top down too.
Okay.
Because it's safe I feel a lot safer for my children. Like no one's going to fall out of a window.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
So, I had an experience where when I was 9, ended up like saving a kid. I was walking around the apartment complex and a child had fallen from a second floor window. And it was terrifying to take him upstairs to the family. And I, from that moment, henceforth, have been very like, very
it's
aware.
Something you think of.
Yeah. I like never let doors or windows open bottom up. So,
right. That's smart. Yeah.
So anyways,
that's smart.
Okay, we'll do it. You got it.
Well, I already ordered the windows.
Oh, okay.
We're past that.
Never mind. It'll be fine.
Windows are fully ordered. That's the thing. I'm asking you like, what do you regret? Like, expecting you to say like some layout thing. I can't change anything about that right now.
Okay,
like,
nothing is changing. Okay, well, I feel like I shouldn't even say anything then because I don't want you to be like, oh my goodness.
No, it's good for the listeners because listeners might be building a house and you have lots of good tips too on making it affordable, which is very like right now. I mean, building is pricey. It's a pricey thing, and there continues to be more and more things that come up. They're like, hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Well, I do feel like I have tips for what I would do to make it cheaper for people. Like, I don't know if I have regrets. I have things. I mean, I'm sure I do. I just can't think of them. But things that I loved, I switched my floor plan. I loved this one floor plan, but my mountains, the view, and the sunshine, you want to face your windows. What is it? South. You want the south windows so that you get the most sun, which is I learned through the process. And direct south was also where my mountains were. And I wanted that view. And I wanted to be able to sit in my kitchen because that's where I am all the time and be able to look at, I wanted a ton of windows. So I did not do upper cabinets because I was like, we will minimalize all of our
just so we can have
many windows as we can. So I put 4 windows in our kitchen that just like cover the wall and only have, my plates and cups are below. And I love it, including with having a child. It doesn't matter with my children, toddlers or whatever. The sunshine is key for me. Windows are key. And having that light is so important. So that is a tip I would say. I even changed my floor plan to make sure that I had a house that faced primarily at most south and had the most windows. So I had the most sunlight. Another tip I would say is you want to whimsy up your house, and chimneys are very whimsical. However, it's also like $15,000 to put in a fireplace. Well, we ended up waiting until I could afford it. So I basically like write books and then turn around and like put wallpaper up in my house. So I write books for the rugs, but But so we waited a while and then I put in a fireplace, but it was a wood stove. And if you want to save money, I would absolutely recommend just don't even do a fireplace, do a wood stove. And the type of...
Well, they heat the house better. Yeah. That's why we're doing it. Because it wasn't necessarily like a line item thing. It was just like, we literally prefer the wood stove.
It's more practical.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up doing a mix. We got a wood stove kind of fireplace. So it heats really well, but it's also like I get the full mantle for the stocking life.
Okay. So how did you do that? Like, how does it, I need to look at your Instagram pictures.
Well, I don't know. It was an inset wood stove because I learned about, and we had a wood stove in our last house, how efficient wood stoves are.
Okay.
But I wanted to save the space in our living room. So, we would have lost about 5 feet or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So I decided to go with a wood stove fireplace, and it was just an insert. So it shuts and then really lasts forever. And there's these fans that pop out and heat the whole house as you want. So it's kind of a hybrid, but I really enjoy it. So I would say that's another tip I would give. I would also say avoid carpet at all costs. My husband was like, we can save money by doing carpet. And I was like, no, because
that's where I draw the line.
I will draw the line with this. I have to. I will. $20 later. Yeah. Because as you know, with small children, it's all it takes is one stomach bug to ruin that carpet.
No. Yeah.
And I've experienced that. All my other houses were carpet. And so I just was like, no. And so that's how we ended up with thinking creatively and got a racquetball, flooring or whatever. But yeah, and I always love, I think something that makes your space feel special is mason work. Like I love thin brick. I ended up, and of course, all of this was not in the original build. It was after, a few years, but I ended up putting like a herringbone thin brick in our floor in our mudroom. And then painting it, which everyone who's ever put in anything, it about kills my husband because I always like paint over this brick. But I love a thin brick that's so tiny and it just has so much personality. And then I did thin brick in our kitchen too. And then we did a brick going up the fireplace. And I don't know. I think the texture, having a variety of textures makes it so nice and gives it an old farmhouse feel in a new farm, which I'm sure you're thinking through. What do we do? Do you put beadwork in, or do you, what are you doing?
Yeah. We're doing there's going to be paneling on just about every surface of some kind, like beadboard, V-groove. It all sounds overwhelming at this point that we're going to still be doing that. But I'm like, I think you can always add it later if you need to, right?
Yeah. Or if you do, you're like, wow, this is redundant. However, I did sheetrock because that's all we could afford. And that is something I would have asked to slowly add in is like trim, like box trim and things to give it more personality. So, but if you can do it in the beginning, do it in the beginning. Yeah.
Well, okay. So this is my question. I need to ask my builder this. If you're doing some kind of paneling on just about every surface, do you put the drywall behind it or not?
I don't. Okay, listen, I'm not my husband. So, but I think if you're doing like, what is it, beadboard? I think you don't have anything behind it. I don't think you have sheetrock. I think.
Oh, because I asked my husband this a couple of days ago and he's like, well, you do the drywall first. I'm like, but if we're covering every surface, do we really need to do that?
Well, double check because I could be so wrong and I don't know, but and if that, you know what? And if that's true, then super, you're going to have sheetrock anyways. So I don't feel like it's a waste for me then to just go ahead and layer afterwards and be like, because now I'm good, I literally actually did this. I went to actually that was my Christmas project. I got a whole wall behind my dining room and I got some boards that were like 6 inches wide and some 3 and some 4. And then we put it up the wall and painted it. And it was over the sheetrock. And I feel like my husband was like, why? But I was like, it gives a better antique-y look, while still feeling clean,
Uh-huh. Yeah. All of that is still to come. And I think this is all going to make our house take longer. But, I want to get the projects mostly done just because I don't want to be living through. We're not great at trying to do a bunch of projects with a bunch of kids around. I mean, I guess probably most people aren't.
No, I love it. It's a dream.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
No, do you know how, like you're saying this and I'm like, oh, I so relate because last contract, I ended up remodeling both my daughter's rooms and a few months ago. And I worked with rifle paper for it. And so they sent me wallpaper and rugs and like some bedding, which was awesome. Very thankful to them forever. I feel like I could be an ad for them. Rifle paper, go buy them. But, but the process of like pushing everything to the center and then it being in a construction zone while they do the trim work and like the box trim, although box trim is handy, I will say. I love a good box trim halfway up the wall and then wallpaper the second half up because you don't have to do it looks like paneling, but it's actually just straight on sheetrock. So it's easier. And it's just this little piece of trim that's boxed. And I don't know. I'm sitting in it now.
Yeah. It looks great. Yes. All those little details to me make it feel older, more custom. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to give our home lots of character and for it to not look like a new build, which I know it will for at least at first. So that's the goal. So I guess on your property, you were able to kind of face your house. Like on ours, there was really only one option. Like it was like, this is the way you face the house. Like there wasn't any choosing by like the sun. Actually, it does face south, but it really just turned out that way because any other way would have made zero sense.
Well, you're saying the front face south?
Yes.
Okay. So I made it so that my kitchen and the whole, so I redirected so that the bulk majority of my house, it's like a long I guess, is my house. So instead of being wider, which was my original plan, I was like, wait a second, I don't want only this strip to have the sun. I want all this. So I had to change the plan to make it that way.
Okay. And how did you guys choose a floor plan? I think we talked about this last time, but I kind of forget.
Yeah, I scoured Pinterest until I found my favorite.
Yeah.
And then I said, I would like that one very much. So thank you.
Oh, that's easy enough.
So I know. And originally my husband was like, well, we can't afford to build that. It was I think it was like 3,400 square feet, something like that. So our original plan was like, fine. And this is a tip I would give to people too. Find what you want because that is permanent. Your floor plan is the only thing permanent. Really that's kind of permanent. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? That's fine. We'll just build our house in pieces. We'll have like everything, but we won't build the garage and we won't build the room over the garage. We're still not living in the master bedroom from the plan. We live in my husband and I live in a rec room, which I'm like, whatever. We just use that as our room, which is fine because that's on the same floor as our children. And then one day when we can afford that, we'll build on and make our plan. So I would rather have a floor plan that I can build onto.
Okay.
And just not have pieces.
How do you find that? Because like ours too, like we have additions, but the floor joists like run through the whole thing. You know what I mean? So I guess I probably don't know enough about building to even know how you would choose a floor plan that you could easily. I've seen them. I have seen ones that really lend themselves to it. And
I'm not even talking. There are definite floor plans that are like very obviously like they'll even label themselves as like floor additions plans that are and you know what? And usually my husband says those can be a waste actually because a lot of times his clients will come to him and say things like, I want to save money by building all of this except for the room over the garage. We'll just leave that unfinished. And he's like, well, a bulk of the expense is, getting it boxed in.
That's what I wonder. Yeah. About like,
so that doesn't really count. What I'm saying is basically the floor plan, we just wouldn't have had our garage. We wouldn't have had the room over the garage. We would have just had to really, and we just didn't build. There was the master that was just a one level. And you just like chop it, on the floor plan. Like, well, we're just not going to build that, and we're just not going to build that. And one day when we can, it'll be a hassle, but we'll figure it out. And I would talk to if someone's building a house, I would talk to their builder. I trusted Ben because that's his job to make it happen. But that for sure saved us,
Yeah. And so when you go to build it, are you just going to do like a slab, not like a full foundation or?
Well, okay. This is actually probably the biggest tip. This is my regret. I found my regret.
I got you too.
Here we go.
I had to.
You got me. And it's not too long actually. I would say the weather has been insane the past few years. And he even is noticed everyone his new builds are building tornado shelters. 100%. I wish we had built a tornado shelter underground when we built.
And you mean something other than just a basement?
Oh yeah, because we don't have a basement.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so we've got a little crawl space that's really scary.
Okay. Like you couldn't get down there. I guess you could.
Not really. No. Yeah, I mean, like if I wanted to go outside, I don't know.
You just wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. We would go in this tiny bathroom, but like I said, we got a lot of windows. We're like, so I kind of feel like we're in a fishbowl in our house a little bit. So, and we're at the top of the hill, and so it's a little bit scary. It's like so we're talking now about building. When we build the master, we for sure will build a tornado shelter underneath the master to accommodate that. So I would say 100% without question, I think everybody, given extreme weather, should have a tornado shelter in place.
In where I live, it's very uncommon to not have a basement. Actually, the house I currently live in doesn't have a basement, which is very unusual. I've always had a basement.
Yeah.
And the house we're building has a basement. But Missouri's like, if you look at deadliest tornadoes in the last 100 years, like Missouri's on there the most times. So we just, we would definitely.
Yeah.
Like it's common for us to go to the basement for a storm.
Right.
But here there's not one. And I'm like, well, this house has been here over 100 years.
Look, it made it. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think they're extreme ads, however it is. Like, I think you can even buy apparently some sort of pod that you can like drop in your yard. I've heard of that too. My husband's like, we should do that. And I said, that sounds extra terrifying, but
yeah, well, and you'd have to really commit. Yeah. Like you'd have to just believe this is going to be the worst storm to get your whole family and go out there in that pod. Like if, because we've had times where it's 3 a.m. and you're like, do you get the children or not? Like, do you literally wake everybody up? And if it was like a comfortable basement with a couch, then maybe you would, but take them out to the pod.
Cram together. Well, and my problem is I assume it sprinkles or thinks about sprinkling. And I'm like, it's it. That's it. The tornado is coming. And so we'd be in the pod half of our life, Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm the opposite. I'm like, they have to say there's a tornado on the ground. I'm like, I guess we'll bring everybody
we
downstairs.
Actually did experience a crazy tornado thing on the way when I was trying to get to New York. I think we straight up went through a tornado. I did not know the alert could go one pass warning. It did the watch and then it did the warning saying it was on the ground. And then it did this third, and it's my husband and me and all my kids, and we're on the interstate. It's pure black and it's dark outside, and there's nobody around, and everybody's smart, sheltering. And we're just driving. And then we got this extra ding-a-lings thing, and it said critical, like tornado is now here where you are or something.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one.
Well, yeah, I hadn't either. So we immediately get off the interstate, go under a bridge because we're like, and then I'm chat GPTing it, and it said, do not go under a bridge. The worst thing you could do is go under a bridge.
I'm pretty sure that's not allowed.
Yeah. So then it was like, get out of the bridge, get out. So then we're just going crazy. So anyways, I'm living from that recently. So I'm thinking we need a tornado shelter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably a good idea. Just there's going to be times, and our house too is on top of a hill. So it seems like it might be. And, I can't say, oh, this house has been here 100 years. I can't say that.
No. You're going to have to find your confidence in something else. It's been here a sturdy 2 weeks. We're good.
Great. When Luke and I were first married 17 years ago, we were on a super tight budget, and the only way that I could decorate my home and make it my own cozy space was by doing a lot of DIY and sewing. I've shared that for years on my YouTube channel, on this podcast, on my blog, and recently I put all of those resources together, all of the patterns, the tutorials, and then step-by-step instructions from getting a machine and threading it learning about tension issues in the bobbin, all those things maybe over the years that have scared you away from sewing, into one course that I've called the Simple Sewing Series. If you've wanted to sew but have been intimidated by the process of getting started, or even if you're a more seasoned seamstress or sewist and you want to improve your skills, I really think that this will be a great resource for you. There's also a private community associated with it, so if you have sewing questions or you're excited to meet other people who are also getting started on their sewing journey, that's available with the course as well, and it's for a very affordable price. You can find my new course and all of the resources that go along with it over at bit.ly/simple sewing course. That's bit.ly/simple sewing course, all lowercase. That's where you can find more info and become a student. Well, let's move on a little bit to after I think a lot of people aren't probably building, but they still dream of that country life. And you're someone who grew up in an apartment and you go to a property and you're thinking, adding animals. How did that look? And was it really intimidating?
Yeah, I think like anything else, it's just one little shaky step at a time where you're like, wow, this sounds, I will say it's incredible what you end up taking on when you have the space to take it on. So, and I've always we had chickens even when at a brief time when we lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, we're in suburbia then, and we had chickens then, and I loved it. So I've always loved the idea. Mm-hmm. I remember the very first time, like going to the post office with my 4-year-old daughter, and like we got the baby chicks and we brought them home, and then we started the thing, and we never knew. You can only research. I mean, I literally did read like Goats for Dummies or like Sheep for Raising Sheep for Dummies. Like I really did listen to those audiobooks and read those books, and they were I read some terrible books, and I was trying my best to figure out how to do it, do due diligence and be prepared. But the reality is eventually you got to just be like, all right, we just got to jump in here. There's no amount of reading that will prepare me for this. Yeah. Also, this was really boring. So it's like 60 pages on, clipper size or something. And so let's just go to the farm store and, get your supplies and you'll figure it out as you go. And so it started with chickens and we loved it. It's not like we did everything at once. It was baby steps, which I do highlight in our book. Like, this is how you you slowly, you bit by bit before, I didn't say to myself, and I did immediately want a whole farm, but at the same time, I didn't realistically think that was wise for us to jump into. So it's taken us 4 years. We've had chickens, rabbits, 1 cat, quickly 2 cats, then 3 cats. Yeah, cats. I know, like cat. And then ducks, and then sheep, and then a big garden. And it's like you just kind of. And honestly, at this point, I feel good there. I don't really necessarily need more responsibility than I need now. Yeah. I feel pretty happy with this, and I love the life that it's provided for my children. I love that they understand farm life. I love that they understand life and death, and the hard work is hard work, but good work and joys that come from working hard and like pulling up your own carrots, harvesting your own carrots with your cousins, and chasing chickens that got out and let them, back into the run or let them back into the field or whatever, or doing morning chores. They each have a different animal that they take care of, and there's great responsibility there. And I don't know, I just feel like it's been a great, as you probably know, it's a great experience for the children. It's as good for them as it is for me.
Yeah. And it's not always necessarily practical. Like, you can buy carrots pretty cheap. Sure. But it's more than that. And that's what I think we talk about on this podcast a lot, that a lot of this stuff, like, yes, you can do a much more convenient thing, but then there's just the absence of that good work, available for you.
Well, and you have 24 hours in a day, and your kids are going to be spending them somehow. And it's nice to, I don't know, there's a certain joy watching them. I don't hear him really say, oh, I'm bored, or things. They go out and they have so many things to do. And before you know it, they're entertaining themselves in both cold and hot weather and snow, and finding all kinds of joy. So I agree.
Do you spend a lot of time out on that front porch? It just looks like the most dreamy spot.
Yes, I do. I actually every day, my husband and I, about a year ago now, I said, I really want to make it a commitment that every day, you and I specifically have time, not with our children, and get to like drink coffee on the porch and have a talk for like somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so now we do that every day. And it's like, sometimes it's freezing outside and we just bundle up, but there's something really extremely healthy feeling about hearing the birds and like feeling the sunlight. And I don't know, it really helps me genuinely have a better day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm dreaming of that. Our last house had a front porch. It didn't have like as much of a view as our new house will have from the front porch. And we were not as intentional about sitting out there, but yeah, I definitely dream about it. And I think with the view we're going to have, we'll have to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so peaceful. And then before you know it, your kids will school on the porch and.
Yes. Sure. And so you homeschool as well. And so you're kind of weaving all of this together in this place you're living that you built from scratch. There has to be so much satisfaction in all of that.
Oh yeah. It's, I don't know. It has been, we are definitely to the point where I don't know, we can't really imagine living anywhere else at this point. We just love where we are. So, and it is very peaceful to see your kids to be like, oh, I'm going to go read out here. And it's nice, I will say, in a new build to have multiple places. I do feel like I try to optimize dining sets or rocking porches or whatever in as many places. I just put a garden set in our garden, and like, oh, it's so nice. And my husband was like, why do you have a garden set in the garden when you have a table in the greenhouse? And I was like, well, it's nice to sit in the shade right here for my daughter to paint, or, to sit with her cat and read or whatever. So it is, I would say maximize your outdoor sets.
I really like that idea. It's overwhelming thinking about right now, because I'm like, we don't even have a house yet. But I'm like dreaming 5 years in the future of all the little places that you can be, once we have built out a garden. Yeah. And, we're doing a barn at the same time, but I can just picture like all the little spots around the property outside of the house that I want to be a place where people can go and spread out. I mean, that was the whole idea.
Yeah. Especially do it at the barn. Like, I think we just put a bonfire thing out there, and it's just, I just feel like every few steps we have something. We just did another spot for grilling over here in the back porch. And granted, those are just lawn chairs, beach chairs, or whatever, but it's like, we just set up on our driveway. Oh, that's another thing I would say. We did get a concrete pad for our driveway, even though the rest is gravel. And even just last night, we pulled out some chalk, and then we pulled a pickleball net out, and we've been playing pickleball for like the past 24 hours and straight. Yeah. And that'll be an all summer thing. We'll grill and we'll sit in our lawn chairs, and the kids play pickleball with us. And it's just
having that. So what really size is the concrete pad? Because so far we just have gravel everywhere, but I'm like, that might be smart.
I would say I love gravel going up the driveway. Like, I love a good gravel driveway, but the top pad, it's a 3-car garage. So
it's that width.
Yeah. And the third car of the garage from the very beginning, I never wanted to use for anything but like a gym, like to put a treadmill in. So I can open the door and I can walk on the treadmill, but also I can see right there, my kids are playing with chalk and they're scootering and they're apparently now doing pickleball.
Right.
And so it's the width of a 3-car garage, and I don't know how long, but it's like a square. Okay.
And I mean, we have a spot for that. I just never thought of it. It's probably one of those things you think about when all the structures are there. You're like,
it took a while. We did gravel forever. And then eventually that was another one of those things we worked into. But what's nice is then you can put a basketball hoop up and you guys can play basketball. You can do, Foursquare. Yes. I have kids over and we all go play Foursquare.
Right. You need some concrete for that.
There's a ton of stuff you can do with concrete, with a good driveway. So
yeah. Well, and we're weighing out a lot of decisions on like that kind of thing. 'Cause, I want some sidewalks that are like flagstone, like we had at our last place. But then like that also sounds really nice to have a spot where there's just a concrete.
Just a good flat spot.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, too, the pickleball thing, like you can literally get this like accordion kind of net, and then just pull the net out, have a pickleball set, and then you can put it back when it's done, and then you can play tennis and foursquare and chalk and bikes and scooters and whatever. So
smart.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's one of those modern luxuries.
One of those modern conveniences. Yeah, I know. Through this process, I'm thinking of a lot of those things because we've always lived in an old house. I only wanted to ever find an old house, but the way like the property laid and where we wanted it, there was just literally, we had it. We looked for years. There wasn't with the amount of property we wanted. And so as I started thinking about a new house, I'm like, well, there's a few things that might be kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So what are your things? What's your list?
Well, the windows opening is great. I mean, not that you could really work on your windows probably and make them open, but even some of them have like the cords came off of the little, like the wood cords. And so it was more extensive to actually fix them. Man, what are some of the things? Just so many things. And like everything will be level, which, character.
Yeah. I know. I love a good slanty floor too, but I hear you. It is.
Yeah. Theoretically, it'll all be level. We'll have a basement that's like, a real, we've always had basements, but they're not super dry or they're just kind of like stone walls, which they're beautiful, like so beautiful.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, maybe you guys would do things down there, like more of like a storage place as opposed to anything you would ever hang out in, which our basement now is that we're building. It's not going to be like that either because there's no windows down there. So it's not like it's going to be a cozy place to be. But
and you built a large barn, did you not? I feel like in my memory, I feel like I saw a video where there was a very large, awesome barn.
Yeah, we have a barn. We have a barn too. It's about, what did we decide? Like 150 or 60 feet from the house. We built a barn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. And so what are you going to use it for?
We dream of so many things, but like it'll partially be, there's going to be some stalls in there. So we'll put our milk, like our dairy stanchion in there, and then we're going to have a hayloft. But then the other side's going to be open and tall. And I picture like dinners and weddings and
oh my goodness, that's so fun.
Probably just basketball and skating and,
amazing. Oh,
just an extra flex space.
So will that be concrete then there?
It is. It's concrete. Yeah. And I thought, there's definitely some things we could have done to make it more aesthetic, but I'm like, they're going to like having that. Because in the wintertime, you could close all the barn doors.
Oh, yeah.
Block out all the wind,
No, you don't need a driveway patch. There you go. You got your...
It's in the barn.
Yeah. That's epic. Oh, that would be so nice. We have a barn that with our property that we inherited that.
Nice.
That's the only thing I let my husband really take care of. And because his design eye is not we cannot be more opposites ever. He tried for a long period of time to get me to move into a metal container, like the things.
Yeah, he's like, why are we building this house?
Why do we need a house? I can cut out 4 little windows.
Yeah, you'd be fine.
It's like, oh my goodness. So he handles the barn, and it's just this saddest little a patchwork barn that he just puts all the other, but. It's starting to kind of have character for it. And and I like it. Yeah.
That's the thing. When you have an old property, you inherit so many things. Like with the last property we had, there was 3 other buildings other than the house, and there's just like things around that you just don't inherit at all with a new property.
No. Well, I feel like that I was telling that recently, I'm like, the hardest thing you can do when you have property is not fill it with stuff. Like, I just feel the temptation to be like, oh, well, let's just have another coop. We'll just have a duck house plus a coop house, and we'll just put that one over with the sheep. And then before you know it, we'll be covered with a bunch of buildings and then 15 random cars resting out back and a toilet in the front.
No, not that part.
Like, it's just hard to make sure it's clean.
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
That can be a struggle too. But then there's some character and coziness than just like a house in a field. Like that's the thing with us. The property that we bought, it could easily just be a house in the field if we're not careful. You know, like we need to build out like some garden beds, and then we have the barn to provide a little structure over there.
Yeah.
We're going to putting a garage on this side of the house, because otherwise it's just like a house sitting in a field.
Yep.
And I want like paths, and it's all so far in the future, but I want it to have those cozy moments throughout that it'll be hard to
Well,
accomplish.
I think it'll happen very easily. I feel like before we knew it, so my son, now he's 10, but he'll like mow dirt bike paths and mazes in the tall grass, which is really kind of fun. So you can build like corn mazes, or you can build like dirt bike paths, and that's character-y.
Yeah.
And just a bunch of trees.
Yes. Well, and the boys all have dirt bikes.
There you go.
They will be doing all of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that section will be fun. And then we did that was a process too, getting the trees in. Are you putting trees up your driveway?
We need to do all that.
Yeah.
I guess we should think about that now, probably.
Well, I mean, I'm 4 years in, and we just did it like 2 months ago.
Yeah. I'm like, I have too many things on my brain.
Yeah. No, there's so much. But of course, trees are the biggest ways, I feel like, to fill up a space in a really beautiful way.
Absolutely. Think. Yes. I know. I wish we could get trees that will grow fast, because even our last property, the first thing we did, because everybody advised, the first thing you do when you get a homestead is to put in your fruit trees. And we did that. And even when we left after 6 years, they're still like, we still weren't harvesting apples, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We just put in a fruit tree, and I think it'll be a while. So, but I like our maples, blazing maples. They grow pretty quick. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. We need to put something in front of the house, because behind the house, there's trees everywhere, but there's nothing in front of the house.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're talking to someone who also, when this land was auctioned off, I think it used to be like a cow field or something. And so there was like not a tree in sight. We have planted the only trees that exist on this property. So
on the property.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ours is actually mostly trees, our property.
Oh, wow.
But they're not like integrated with the house. You know, the house is in front of that, but
but that's nice to have both, so you can have like tree forts and things like that. I do wish we had a whole lot of trees.
Yeah. Oh man, I could ask you about building stuff forever, because obviously that's what I'm in the thick of. I remember last time we talked, I wanted to, but we weren't announcing that we were moving yet, and so I was like, I'm not gonna. But yeah, it's so fun. I
know. Well, there's so much to think about. I do remember, I will say, rest is coming for you. I remember that point where it was like, wow, you don't get a break from your life. It's very exhausting, and every decision feels very intense.
It does. And it happens like every day. Like the builder called this morning, and we chatted about a few things. And like there's always a new thing to worry about with it.
Oh, no. Yes. Yeah.
It just is.
And every small thing feels really big too. Every single thing feels very
And maybe
intense.
it shouldn't. Yeah. I think that's it. I think I'm in that place right now where every little small thing feels like maybe like a problem. You know?
Yes. No, I remember like the handrails. Like I like very intensely had to think about the rail that went down the stairs, which who cares about the rail that goes down the stairs?
I care. That's the problem. I care about everything.
Right. I know.
care a lot about the handrail.
Right. So then what am I doing? I'm dragging all my children in a minivan, in a Kia minivan, down to like a saw shop. I don't even know what they're called.
Yes.
And I'm like, I must find this myself and drag it home. And then I'm like, this giant things between all of our heads on the drive home, because I had to like make sure I liked the feel. So I definitely understand the stress. I will say, once it's over, there is peace ahead. I
believe it, because I've been in a part of life where we weren't building before.
Yeah,
and so I know that exists. But it is like, and I think it'd be a lot easier if I didn't care about certain things. Because I'm like you, like I'm not just like, well, just go to Lowe's and get a handrail. Like no. Oh no. We can't make it that easy.
I have to search the entire internet for every handrail that's ever existed.
Yes. I designed stairs that I didn't realize my plan didn't really have. Like I didn't realize the way the walls go, like there's just a small handrail. So I like had the staircase like all designed. Like I definitely am spending more mental energy than even is necessary, for sure. but I can't tell when I should and when I shouldn't. Like, I can't tell when I'm going to be blindsided by like you should have already thought about this moment. So I'm overcompensating.
I don't think, I don't even think I can. I think this is the point where I'm supposed to say, don't worry, it'll all work out. But I tell you, every time I walk down the stairs, I think I like the feel of my hand on this.
Yeah.
4 years later. I'm like, this
good
is
thing
such
you did
a good
that
decision.
day. One little trip with your kids, and now every day
I'm thankful. So no, but you really shouldn't worry. It really will be great. I will say, for me in a new build, and you're probably past this point, but I had to limit myself eventually to 3 colors because I realized it was way too overwhelming to try and do everything. So I was like blue, white, and gold, and like wood, a light wood color.
Yeah.
And I will have my house in these colors, and I will not overwhelm myself with too much, because that I know I love those colors. I know I like them together. And that's just, and I will say, there we go. I found another regret. The only things I regret is someone gave us a vanity. So, of course I was making the most of it at the time for my kid's bathroom. And I designed the entire bathroom in like black and white and all this other stuff because that was the vanity they gave me. And I don't love, I wish I didn't. It doesn't.
You wish you just would have bought a different vanity.
Yeah, I wish I'd gone with that. But at the same time, I saved money and we didn't have money in the budget. So you do what you can. So maybe it's not really a regret. It's just, So anyway, stick to 4 colors. Give yourself 3 or 4 colors.
No, that's a good tip, because I'm actually not past that point at all. I haven't even gotten there whatsoever.
Yeah.
Haven't even gotten to that point.
So if you're like a sage green girl, I don't know. What color do you like?
I like green. I'm thinking I'm going to do a yellow kitchen, which I just want it very, very country.
Yeah.
Like the whole house, very country.
Yeah.
So that's my
that's
theme.
A yellow kitchen. Yeah.
That's a yellow kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do. I think I'm going to do lots of colors throughout, but maybe I should just limit myself to 4 colors. That might be easier.
Well, think about, get like a Canva graphic going. Figure out the color wood you like. If you like light or dark or whatever you're going to put on your floors. Make that the full color of the picture, because that's the reality is. It doesn't matter. Most of your room is going to look like that wood. And then put your yellow in. I would guess white lace curtains would be super cute. I'd put that in, and then,
just start building it out.
Yeah. Just get yourself a few pieces.
Yeah, that's smart.
Oh,
I need to do that. I need to do this and not overthink it.
You should get this is my side idea. You should get one of those, although you have so many kids. But have you seen like those buttery yellow, old fashioned, like Smeg yellow refrigerators?
Yes, I have.
You should do that. That'd be so cute.
I know it would. I'm doing like a big, massive refrigerator.
Like practical? Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess we're still doing the panel ready thing, which part of me is like, it seems kind of silly because it's not going to look like a cabinet because of how massive it's going to be.
Oh, no, but that'll still be cool. I like those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not do those. I wondered about doing those. You know what you should do too? Side point. If you want to be super country, have you seen the dishwasher thing where, and I did that. I tried it. The metal, you can put a metal over it and then have like a curtain in front of your dishwasher so you don't see it. Do you have that?
Yeah. No, but that is really cute.
I bet you could do the panel ready dishwasher so that so the problem with me doing it via magnet is it would pop off all the time, to the point that like I could handle it, but my husband could not. And it was driving him crazy. And my children.
Why?
Yeah. And it would like pop off and then we'd have to fix. But like, man, it's super country and cute to get like a little ruffled
it is
thing in front of it. And I bet there's a way to do that on install that you never would have to deal with again. And it would add so much character.
Probably so. Yeah. So many things to think about.
I know. Yeah.
Well, tell the listeners where they can find your book. I believe it comes out July 15th, correct?
Maybe. I don't remember. Okay. You know what? I'm going to say I think it's July 11th, but I could be wrong. So July sometime. And so my socials are Our Friendly Farmhouse, and the title of my book is Our Friendly Farmhouse. So And I don't know where it's going to be. It's probably in Barnes & Noble and the normal bookstores. But this is my debut children's book, so I have no idea how different it's going to be than my adult. So,
well, I think it's going to be so much fun to read to my kids. I read to my little boys every night, and they fall in love with books like this. So it could quickly become a family favorite, and in all of your homes as well. So head over to our Friendly Farmhouse. I love following along with you. You can just feel that romanticized country life in all of your posts. And I'm just like, yeah.
Well, so good. Yay. And I will say there's a cardinal on every page. I was like, put a sneaky little cardinal on every page. Okay. So I love a good find a cardinal. But yes thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks.
Thanks, as always, for listening to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. My husband Luke and I and our 8 kids work together side by side on our little homestead and use our blog, podcast, and YouTube channel to reach other homemakers, home cooks, and homesteaders with practical recipes in daily family life. For everyday sourdough recipes, make sure to check out our blog, farmhousehomeboon.com. And to dig deeper, we do also offer a course called Simple Sourdough over at bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. That's all one word, bit.ly/farmhouse sourdough course. If you're looking to learn how we earn an income online, check out my YouTube course at bit.ly/farmhouse YouTube course, all one word.